Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how I warm up personally for my pull-ups and a lot of the exercises I use with my clients. I asked on Instagram what kind of warm-up routines you guys would like to see, and pull-ups was literally one of the most favorite requests. So here I am making the pull-up video. So if you're watching this video, I'm going to give you a 10% discount on our 12-week shoulder mobility and strength program, where we progressively work through all the basics, building mobility and strength in the shoulders throughout the weeks. If you use code YouTube10, that will get you 10% off this purchase. So the way I like to start my mobility or warm-up routines is using some sort of dynamic stretch just to work the muscles that I'm going to be using through their range of motion and warm the joint up and get your heart rate up as well. So for this exercise, we're going to do a variation of the downward dog. We're going to keep the reps nice and high. We're only going to do one set and we're going for 15 reps. The reason I like this exercise so much is because it stretches my lats, it stretches my chest, but it also extends the thoracic as well. So you feel a really good kind of opening up sensation in the upper back. So to do this, you're just going to go on your hands and on your feet and keep your knees off the ground. Okay, so the only difference here between this and a regular downward dog is the bend in the knees. From here, we're just going to push through the hands, pushing the hips up nice and high, extending through that thoracic until you feel that stretch in the upper back, shoulders and chest, and then back into the start position. We're going to go for 15 of these. So now we're just going to think about the muscles that we're going to be using when we're doing the pull-up. When we do pull-ups, we usually bring in our chest towards the bar. So we need that thoracic extension. We also need to be able to retract our scapula as well. So the first exercise that we're going to use in this warm-up is aimed at targeting the thoracic and the scapula. I've been doing these exercises for a while now, so I've become quite familiar with them. My body's adapted. If this is new to you, you can actually try this without the weights, but if you've done something like this before, or you're used to doing pull-ups and you're quite strong in these muscles, then feel free to add some weights, either holding on to light dumbbells or even just putting wrist straps on. So I'm going to go down into a prone position, so lying on my front, okay? And when I'm on the floor, one thing I'm trying to do is limit any movement in my spine, because I'm trying to extend through the upper spine. I don't want to be extending through the lower back. So to do this, I'm going to create a posterior tilt by tucking my hips, squeezing the glutes, and pulling the belly button in towards the ribs here, okay? And we try to maintain this solid position throughout the body as we're doing this. Start with your arms on the ground, okay? You don't want to be shrugged up. You want to be pulling your scapula down so they're depressed, okay? And from here, we're going to lift the arms and the elbows up, and then we're going to extend as much as we can through the thoracic, hold it for 3 seconds, and come back down to the ground. So lift the elbows up, extend through the thoracic, 1, 2, 3, back down. Elbows up, extend, 1, 2, 3. So keep the rep range at about 6 to 8 with the 3-second pauses, and you want about 2 to 3 sets with 45 seconds rest in between each set. So this next exercise is very similar to the last exercise where we focused on the scapula and the thoracic extension. Okay, but the only difference is now is we're closely imitating that pull-up that we're going to be doing. So we're trying to replicate that movement exactly, and to do that we start off in the overhead position, our scapula are elevated, and then we're engaging the lats and we're pulling this resistance band down and our elbows into the side of our body. So important. Exercises like this are often overlooked. You want to create a warm-up routine that closely mimics the movements that you're going to be doing in your session. And in this, we are doing pull-ups, so we're closely trying to mimic the pull-up movements. Okay, so you want to attach your band to something strong. You can use a kettlebell or you can use anything else, something stable, it's not going to come off. It's important that you do use a light band. We're not trying to go heavy. You're going to have an opportunity to lift a lot of weight when you're doing the actual pull-up session or the pull-ups themselves. But for now, we're just going through the movement, going through the motion, working the range of motion, engaging the muscles that we're going to be using. So we're going to go down into the prone position and we're going to keep our arms up overhead. So to begin with, you can see that I've engaged my glutes. I'm pulling my belly button again in towards my ribs, so there's not a lot of movement in the lower back. I've got my shoulders elevated, okay, so my scapula are elevated. I'm going to raise up into shoulder flexion, and then from here I'm going to pull down into this position here, okay, as far as I can, lats into the side, extending through the thoracic slightly, and then back out and touching down. So next up, we're going to do face pull. This is literally one of my favorite exercises. I used to suffer with shoulder pain. And when I started rehabilitating my shoulders, I realized that I lacked shoulder extension. I lacked strength on the back of the shoulders and external rotators and rear delts. And the face pull with the external rotation was a great exercise for strengthening that. Obviously, if you're someone that does a lot of pushing through the shoulders, through the chest, because you're doing calisthenics, gymnastics, or even weight training, bench, shoulder press, etc., this exercise is so crucial to incorporate not only into your warm-up routine, but just into your training as an accessory exercise in general. Choose a resistance band that's not too strong. If you don't have a resistance band, you can use dumbbells. You actually can use a cable as well. Cable's probably the easier setup than the dumbbell option, but I like to set the band fairly low and pull up the way, because that's going to be constantly trying to pull my shoulders down into internal rotation, whereas if it was too high, you wouldn't really be getting that pull down into its internal rotation. We're trying to resist that internal rotation, hence this is strengthening the muscles responsible for external rotation. So we've got our band set up nice and low. Okay, just step back, find the correct resistance. If you're too far back, you're not going to be able to get full external rotation in the shoulders. From here, just engage your glutes and your core again, pulling your belly button in towards your ribs, just so we're not extending through the lower back, okay? And then we're going to pull the scapula back, so they're retracted and depressed. We pull our elbows in towards the side of our body and hands up behind our head here. Just pause for a second and then back down. Elbows back, hands up and back, squeeze, and back down. Something I'm thinking about when I do this is, as I pull those elbows back, I am trying to pull them back as far as I can just to really activate the rear delts. But as I'm doing that, I'm simultaneously pulling the hands up behind me as well. So just imagine when you're doing this that you're just going up into a bicep pose, and that's all you're doing there, up into that bicep pose every time. But the key is you don't want to shrug up. Okay, you want to keep the scapula depressed so you're not getting that shrugging sensation. We want the scapula to stay where they are, nice and stable and strong. So if you're struggling with this one, maybe you're feeling like a little bit of pain, or you're feeling like your traps are kicking in too much, likelihood is, what I see most of the time, is people are just going too heavy and they're not actually getting the movement down. So what you can do is you can just completely remove the resistance to begin with and just go through the motion of really pulling back. And if I pull back hard enough, I can feel the muscles that I'm trying to target engage. So you can just practice this without the resistance band if you're having a hard time getting that sort of mind to muscle connection. So we're pretty good now. We're beginning to warm up actually, and you're starting to feel all the muscles that you're going to be working when you're doing the pull-ups. So now we're actually going to go to the rings. I'm doing it on rings. It doesn't matter if this is the bar pull-ups that you're doing as well. It's the same thing. Go to the bar and do this exact same exercise. We're going to start with scapular pull-ups. So the reason that I'm going to do scapular pull-ups is because whenever you do pull-ups at the bottom position, you want to be able to position your scapula properly before you go for the pull. Okay, you're going to be stronger when you depress and retract the scapula before the pull. That's going to give us the most engagement in our upper back, and that's going to kind of activate the muscles responsible for the pull-up. So this is a really important movement, not only just to get that to perfect your form and the way that your shoulders function during a pull-up, but just to activate the scapula and give your upper back a good warm-up before you actually do the full pull-up. Okay, for the scapular pull-ups, you want a good grip on the rings. We're going to start in a dead hang position, so you can see I'm just letting my shoulders shrug up towards my ears here, completely relaxed. Now I'm going to pull my scapula down and back, okay, and you can see I'm positioning myself or my chest towards the bar or the rings, depending on what I'm on, and then relax again down into that complete dead hang, shrug up, and again pulling away. Aim the chest towards the bar, engage the muscles in the upper back. You can really feel yourself extending through the scapula here, and thoracic, sorry. Okay, so that's the entire warm-up aimed at pull-ups, and now all the muscles should be engaged. You should be nice and warm. You've gone through the range of motion, through the movement, and you should be ready to jump on the pull-ups and begin your workout. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please subscribe to our channel. I'm going to be uploading a load more of these kind of videos, and if you've got any requests for future warm-up routines or just future videos in general, leave them in the comments below.